What's up, heroes? It's Dan here from HeroAcademyFitness.com, and today we're going to be talking about the back squat. And the back squat is considered one of the big three powerlifting movements out there, along with the deadlift and the bench press. It's featured in our Protege beginner workout program. It's featured in the Invincible one, our flagship power building program. And together with the deadlift and the bench press, it's kind of considered like one of the most important foundational lifts for you to learn. You'll find it featured in almost any workout program you see that involves a barbell. It's kind of, in some ways, the king of all lifts. And even though a lot of people think about a squat as a leg motion, in reality, it's really kind of more of a total body motion. The only thing that it doesn't work really are your pushing and pulling upper body muscles. But, you know, we work those anyway with our bench presses and rows in our program, so you get to those eventually. Beyond that, the squat is essentially a total body movement. Similar to the bench press, you want to be thinking about some stuff before you even touch the bar. One of the things that people have an issue with in squats is mobility, all right? The ability to hit certain depths, the ability to have your ankle flexibility and your hip flexibility allow you to go deep. A lot of people ask, how do I increase those things? And while there are mobility drills and stuff like that you can do, really the best thing you can do as a beginning lifter is to just squat more, all right? If you have a shallow squat, that's fine. You'll get better with practice. It's a skill just like anything else. And our beginner program, the Protege program, actually factors this in. You're not going to be trying to move as much weight as possible when you first start that program. Instead, it's about learning to practice the movement. So before you even think about getting under this barbell, I want you to think about a couple of things. First off, you need to learn how to create total body tension through breathing and bracing. And what do I mean by that? I mean that this is the foundational core of everything you do. It's why they're called your core muscles. And I'm not talking about just like your abs. Your core muscles encompass your abdominal muscles, your obliques, your lower back, your spina erector, everything else back here, your whole trunk here. Basically, you got to think about it almost like a pneumatic piston. Okay? Pneumatic pistons work when you fill them with air. So what I want you to practice on before you even get into the barbell is breathing and bracing your core. And when you breathe and brace with your core, you don't want to think about, you know, like a Instagram photo shoot type brace. You don't want to be thinking about like, hey, show off the six pack. You want to think about, how can I create as much intra-abdominal pressure as possible? And that's going to involve taking a deep breath and pushing your belly against itself, okay? So what I want to do when I'm creating that breathing and bracing intra-abdominal pressure is I want to take a breath, and then I want to focus on flexing every muscle in my midsection here, okay? I'm not going to try and talk while I'm doing that. Sounds kind of silly, but I'm going to do it. And I'll show you from the front and from the side. So I take a deep breath, and I flex every muscle in here as best I can. I think almost about pushing out against my own abs, if you will. From the side, you can see, I go, you can see how the trunk kind of billows out. This is not a bodybuilding show pose. This is a maximum power pose, okay? So I want to do that not the entire time I'm into the bar, but as I am descending and then ascending again, okay? So what I want to do is I want to set up under the bar. I want to get my hands just about as narrow as I can handle while still fitting myself under. This is going to depend on your shoulder mobility, but generally speaking, the closer your hands are to your shoulders, the more solid you're going to be, and we'll talk about why in a second. Now, I can get my hands pretty close. I have pretty good shoulder mobility, okay? I want to tuck my head under the bar, and I want to think about almost pulling myself in with my arms. I want to pull myself into the bar, and we're going to talk about a high bar squat today. There is such a thing called a low bar squat. It's more of an advanced maneuver. We'll do that in a different video, okay? So for a high bar squat, I'm pulling myself in, and I'm getting my traps, that's the muscles on the other side of your neck here, right up under the bar, okay? And that's why I'm pulling myself in here, because I want to be flexing my back muscles and my traps and everything as I'm coming in to squeeze into place here. You don't want the bar resting on your neck. You want your trapezius muscles to be creating almost like a platform for it to rest on, okay? And if you're just starting and you have very, very small traps or underdeveloped traps, or you just don't know how to flex them properly yet, it is 100% okay to use a bar pad. Do not let anyone shame you for using a bar pad. Eventually, your traps will get big and beefy enough that you won't have to use a bar pad, but if you're just starting, it's fine. And I'm showing you from the front here. I'm going to show you from the back in a second as well. I pull myself into the bar here. I stand up and flex the bar on my shoulders, okay? So again, from the back now, I want to grab the bar as narrow as my shoulders will allow. I want to pull myself into the bar, And you can see the bar is not on my neck, right? My head is up, it's on my traps, my shoulders are creating a nice solid pad for it to rest on, okay? This is not unlike what we do for our bench press. If you go check out our bench press video, we'll talk about this too. You want to squeeze those shoulder blades together and down so that your entire upper back becomes almost like a solid pad. And you can see here, it's pretty solid there. There's not any wibble wobble in my shoulders, okay? I want that as strong as possible to support the bar, and I want to almost be kind of engaging my shoulder muscles, almost like I want to try and push the bar up off, okay? There are a lot of similarities here between this and the bracing that we do for our bench press, in the sense that on our bench press, we flex our leg muscles, but we don't actually push our butt up off the pad. In this, we flex our shoulder muscles, but we're not actually pushing the bar up off our shoulders. And chances are you can squat a lot more than you can shoulder press, so you don't have to worry about it so much anyway. But you want to create that tension there so that everything from here up is as solid as you can make it, okay? From there, we're going to, again, do our breathing and bracing to engage our core, so that basically we want everything, before we make our legs do anything at all, we want everything from our hips up to be solid, okay? So pull yourself in, squeeze those shoulder blades together, engage those lats, and up. We pop the bar up off the hooks, we take our step back, find our solid footing, okay? Now again, before I move anything in my legs, I want to make sure that I am braced and upright. I want to make sure that my feet are slightly more than shoulder width apart, maybe a little wider, maybe a little narrower, depending on what your mobility is. And I want to make sure that my toes are pointed slightly out. We don't want our toes super far out. We don't want our toes straight ahead. You want your toes out probably a little less than a 45-degree angle. And the width of your feet, generally speaking, the less mobile you are, and also the taller you are, the wider you want your feet. Okay? Wider out here, narrower in here. So, I've got my feet set up, I've got my shoulders set, I've got my shoulder blades squeezed together and pulled down, so I'm engaging my entire upper back. I'm going to take a deep breath, and then I'm going to squat. Not before, okay? All those are the steps first, then we squat, all right? I'm going to take a deep breath, and I'm going to brace everything, and squat back up. Now you'll notice I breathed out a little bit on the concentric motion, the standing up part. That's okay. You can also continue to brace during that motion, but I find that exhaling as I get toward the top of the lift really helps me get up top. You want to make sure that you are still engaging your core the whole way. You don't want to relax your muscles just because you're breathing out, all right? Again, deep breath in. And notice, as I'm squatting, I'm keeping my knees over my toes. Your knees can go past your toes, that's fine, and by that I mean your knees can go forward over your toes, but you don't want your knees to cave in. You want to stay in line with your toes at all times. And I'm going to do a side by side on this so you can see how my knees can go over my toes like this way, but they don't go over my toes as in like inward, all right? Again, deep breath in. Other things you want to note, and this is going to be more evident in the side view, is how my body stays upright, my back stays straight, and I start the motion by dropping my hips back, not by driving my knees forward. And then once you finish your squats, you walk forward, and you want to be kind of sighting forward as you walk towards the cage, but then you want to make sure you get yourself lined up before you drop the weight in. So that's the back squat. It's a relatively straightforward motion from the outside looking in, but once you're actually doing it, there's a lot to think about. So I want you to think about just a couple of big cues when you're first starting out. All right. 1, tight back. Your entire upper back, squeeze that together. 2, breathe and brace. Okay. And 3, upright posture. Keep that posture upright at all times. Depth will come. You'll gain more mobility. Strength will come. You'll gain more power. But I want you to focus on technique first, okay? Keep those knees over those toes. Keep your posture nice and upright, and make sure that you're braced all the way through. So that's it. If you're just learning this, I encourage you to join us on the Discord channel or on the Facebook group. Go ahead and post up some videos of yourself doing this exercise, and preferably from the 2 angles that I posted here, so you can go ahead and get good feedback. We'll be happy to correct them. Do not worry. Do not feel self-conscious. Everybody that's in those groups is a beginner at some point. We want to make sure you're lifting properly so that you don't hurt yourself and so that you continue to become the strongest version of yourself. So thank you for watching. As always, remember to live boldly, change the world, and continue to be awesome. Bye-bye.